So it's D-Day. Very, very close to the day that King Charles has to make a decision about whether he is going to give in to what I believe is very public bullying from his despicable, duplicitous son using the mainstream media and have this face-to-face with Prince Harry when he is in London on Monday for his cancer treatment, or side with his other son, his loyal son, the heir to the throne, Prince William, and say, unfortunately, I am not going to give you the ammunition to use against the royal family. Lady Colin Campbell, what is Charles going to do, and why does nobody know? If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
Yeah, that's the way you put it. Well, I think Charles is caught between a rock and a hard place, isn't he? And he's been manipulated into it by Harry, Meghan, their people, and certain organs in the mainstream media, especially in this country, because, as you know only too well, the two of the main competing news organizations in this country, namely the Mail and the Telegraph, they jockey for position, and each of them really, to serve their own ends, will create a dynamic that really puts Charles in an invidious position. I can well see why it does not suit the king to meet up with Harry at this point. If he does meet up with him and twist and turn things, but my understanding is that it's not very likely that Charles is going to meet up with him. But you never know what's going to happen at the 99th hour.
No, and I mean, there's been no phone calls. No phone calls. And would you not think, Lady C, there would at least be a phone call? I mean, I'm not meaning a call, by the way, between the officers, between the private secretaries or the communication secretaries, but I'm talking about between the king himself and his son. Would there not be a phone call before a face-to-face? Or is there a risk there that Harry would record the call and that's why Charles doesn't want to do it?
Well, there is that element as to why Charles will not receive calls from Harry or make calls to Harry, because, you know, he can be entrapped, and he's quite determined to not be entrapped. But if they, I mean, the last time they met was when Harry flew in and was received for 12 minutes at Clarence House, delaying the king's departure to Sandringham. And Charles didn't even know about this until Harry was in the air. And, you know, and so he really is used to the fact that Harry will manipulate the situation and present him with a fait accompli, which he won't be able to do this time. But if they do end up meeting, I think it will be in such constrained and contained environment, and such a contained environment, that it will be virtually impossible for Harry to then spin around and say, because the last time, again, Harry wasn't able to flip it and say that X had happened or Y had happened or Z had happened, because they made sure that there were always witnesses and I think it is such an awkward position for the king to be in. But My understanding is that he is very on his guard where Harry is concerned, and that the complications of the relationship are such that there's not going to be any, oh, darling boy, it's so wonderful to see you, and let's kiss and make up. Harry hasn't apologized or even withdrawn the accusations of racism against Charles or against Catherine. He hasn't withdrawn any of the accusations against Camilla or against William. Now, you could say that Charles might take the view that William is perfectly capable of protecting himself, but that's not so where Catherine and Camilla are concerned. And indeed, my understanding is that Camilla is very determined to make sure that Harry does not manipulate things in such a way that his father's kindness and more sentimental and sympathetic and sensitive streak will be exploited by Harry, because that means that they, by allowing Harry to giving Harry an inch, will give Meghan not a mile, but 100 miles. And they're not prepared to do that.
Well, indeed. And I mean, look, I was the first to report back in 2021 that Charles and William had made a pact to never be with Harry on their own. That was very sensible. So there will always be a witness in the room. So even if there is to be a meeting on Monday, I am absolutely convinced that there will be someone else in the room. Now, I don't necessarily think it will be Camilla. It's more likely to be the private secretary. But the point is, Charles is not stupid enough to meet on his own with Harry. That is not going to happen, even though I don't think there should be a meeting at all. But seriously, Lady C, the reason I don't think there should be a meeting at all is because, is Harry really going to agree to be patted down? Because this is a man who, for a long time, very senior courtiers and very senior royals have been suspicious, for very good reason, that he wears a secret recording wire to events with the royal family to document what is being said. So I would make it a condition of the meeting if I were Charles, or if I was the private secretary or communication secretary, to say, you're having to be patted down before you see your father. But Harry wouldn't agree to that.
Well, Harry is not necessarily in a position to agree or disagree to anything in a situation like that. You know, here, if it is imposed as a condition of meeting. But I think that the simplest thing and the most straightforward thing is to avoid meetings altogether until such time as sufficient air has cleared, or in the alternative, that the situation is so disastrous that it warrants a meeting. But neither of those is actually the reality at the moment. And I suspect that to a large extent, a lot of this speculation has been orchestrated by Harry and Meghan and their camp to keep themselves in the news, because remember, they need to keep themselves topical because they are hanging on by the skin of their teeth with Netflix. And they have lost credibility across the board, not only in terms of the American mainstream media now, but in terms of Netflix itself. So I would, shall we say, judge, and I'm trying to find a diplomatic way of putting it. I would judge that all of this speculation about a meeting is very much orchestrated by Harry and Meghan and their people, and that Charles doesn't want to be manipulated. And remember, he's used to being manipulated as well. He knows that Diana used to create situations like this. And he's been through it before. He's been around the block with her, so to speak. So Meghan and Harry coming up with what they regard as new tactics isn't going to work. The only reason why Charles would have a meeting with Harry on Monday was if he felt that it was going to be genuinely in the interests of the country, the monarchy, and his role as a father. And I'm not sure that any of those boxes are going to be ticked between now and Monday.
And what do you make of the fact that Harry is using the media to try and pressure Charles into this meeting? I mean, it's all of the tactics that he used to accuse the royal family of using, the briefing, the spinning. Now he's doing it. He's trying to jump his father into a meeting by leaking to Christopher Buckton, the US editor of the Daily Mirror, that, a meeting is definitely going to happen, to make it impossible for Charles to say no.
I think, Dan, it's a classical technique in psychology known as projection. So, there's nothing unique about it. Harry and Meghan both are, and Meghan has done this for years. So I suspect that Harry has been a very avid pupil of Meghan's, where I do it to you, and then I accuse you of doing it to me.
Lady C, then of course we think about the career desperation that is going on. And we know that there are crisis talks in Montecito. And by the way, that is one of the reasons why Harry is so desperate to get this proximity back to the royal family, because of course it helps. But the big sort of unexploded grenade remains the Princess Diana project, which is definitely going to happen. And again, this is another reason why I think Charles is absolutely insane to meet with Harry, given Harry is going to do this, I am convinced. The Royal Rundown has predicted, Lady C, and I thought this was a very interesting prediction, that he thinks his uncle Earl Spencer is going to be involved in this project too. Rob Shooter of Shooter Scoop has been reporting that the talks are now advanced with Netflix, with a Hollywood insider saying it's the ultimate card to play. Nothing sells like Diana. If Harry can package her story as a movie, Netflix keeps him on the payroll. This is the hit that he needs to survive. And that may be true, but it doesn't make it any less upsetting for King Charles and Prince William. But first, we've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now one doctor says, that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixers on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. He says they hardly make a dent on your appearance. Some, check this out, can even be harmful to your skin. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices so he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. He describes it as almost like Photoshop for your face and says you may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the Age Rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public. It's free, it's uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. And he says if it helps even one person look younger or feel more confident, he will be thrilled knowing he helped. The video has since gone viral. At first it was shared by users on Facebook, but since then it's racked up over 2.3 million views and counting. The comments and feedback have been outstanding, with thousands of women reporting they look decades younger. One even commented, best results of anything I've used. I can't believe how well this works. I'll never stop using this. I don't understand how it works, but the results are great. Thank you. So you can find out more about this yourself right now. Just go to bhmd1.com/outspoken. That's BH md1.com/outspoken, or click on the link in the description box below. Now, there is one thing Dr. Lake asks from his viewers. If watching this video helps you look and feel younger than you have in years, then please share this video with your friends and loved ones. Together, we have the power to help as many women reclaim a youthful look as possible. So go watch the video at bhmd1.com/outspoken right now, or just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show.
Well, it would be the end in tasteless exploitation. The only way that a Diana documentary is going to actually grab the public's attention, because remember, Diana has been dead for 28 years now. By the time they get that up and running, she'd be dead for 29 or 30 years. That means all the major youthful demographic has no experience of Diana, no real interest in Diana. You and I may have an interest in Diana, you because you are a professional journalist, I because I have written 2 books on her. But the fact of the matter is that Diana is a dead subject in more ways than one. And so I think you need to bear that in mind. If they go over the reality and the evidence of what happened, it's old news. There's nothing to be added. It's all been said and done. The only thing that will work is for them to take the view that Diana's death had more to it than meets the eye. And was she bumped off? If they are going to be, shall we say, rational and responsible, they would then have to come to the conclusion that the evidence shows that Diana's death was a result of the realities that took place at the time. But if they take that sort of approach, that will give them enough of a gap to come up with all sorts of speculation. Was she bumped off? Did Prince Philip have something to do with it? No, if he didn't, who did? Blah, 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 blah. And that would be a study in opportunistic exploitation of the highest order by her son and her brother, which would be so tasteless that I'm not saying that it wouldn't attract some traction, but I really do not think that unless they are going to accuse somebody who is unexpected of having bumped Diana off or played a part in the bumping of her off, it is not going to be the huge story that and the huge hit that the media would like to believe it will be. That's my take on it. And remember, Dan, this is a subject I'm extremely familiar with.
No, it's fascinating. Fascinating view.
Do you think it would be quite as big as they think it's going to be? Because
no, I agree with you, but it depends how dramatic Harry goes. And I want to talk to you about this later, but I mean, for example, if he starts questioning whether his mother was killed or not, then all of a sudden you get something quite bombshell. And I do want to come to that in just one moment. But before that, Lady C, really want to get your view on Queen Camilla. And this revelation that came from the new Valentine Lowe book about a sex attack that she suffered on a train when she was 16 or 17 years old, because there's been 2 different takes on this story. So I just want to show you 2 videos and then get your view as someone who was very much on the same social circuit as Camilla at that time. So this is how Valentine Lowe revealed what he knew on the BBC.
Going to Paddington, London Paddington, and some chap started groping her. And she told this to Boris Johnson when he was mayor of London. And Boris was obviously all agog as anyone would be, and said, well, what did you do next? And Camilla said, I did what my mother taught me. I took my shoe off and I whacked him in the nuts with a heel.
And this was Tom Bower's reaction on GB News, which has caused some consternation.
The point about Camilla is that she wasn't a normal royal when she was a teenager. She was a very, very active woman around town and had a huge social life. And so was a great party girl. So to say that she had to fend for herself isn't actually a shocking revelation, in the sense that in those days and even now, she was extraordinarily good looking. She was it's fair to say, quite flirtatious. She had a lot of friendships, and I suppose at one party things got out of hand. But, it's one of the rites of passage of women in those days.
So, Lady C, a lot of people, Angela Levin was furious with that from Tom Bower, felt that he was really undermining what Camilla had gone through. As someone who was very much on that scene at the same time as Camilla, what's your view?
I think Tom Bower is totally out of line, actually. What happens in a drawing room or a bedroom is not the same thing as what happens on public transport. Insofar as I'm aware, this was in a public place, and I think it was on a train, wasn't it? Wasn't it on a train?
Yeah, it was. That's the thing. Yeah. It was on a train. And maybe Tom, in fairness to him, did not know the details.
Then he shouldn't have been commenting. She did what anybody else would have done. In our generation, we were all used to guys getting a little bit carried away. And she did one of the sensible things. She took off her shoe and knocked him in his groins. Good for her. It's as simple as that. To tell you that this was not that unusual. I was taking the A train with my family's stockbroker up to the Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in, I think, 1968 or 69. And this was a reasonably crowded train. And there was a very good-looking guy beside me. And this would have been in, I think, November. And I was with our stockbroker. And when we got off the train, he said, look at your coat. When I looked at my coat, there was Hellman's mayonnaise all over it. And I took off the coat and I dumped it. So, this sort of thing used to happen. Yeah. And had I noticed it at the time, I'd have most likely taken off my boot and walloped him as well.
Yes, exactly. Don't mess with Lady Colin Campbell and a stiletto. Don't mess with Queen Camilla and the stiletto in the 1970s. Absolutely fascinating insight from Lady Colin Campbell. And if you do want this insight on a regular basis, please do sign up to the Uncancelled After Show on Substack. My Substack address is www.outspoken.live. You get access to the Royal Uncancelled After Show Monday to Friday. Twice the length, by the way, is what you've just watched. You get it first. You get it either live or on demand with no advertising whatsoever. Substack is a free speech platform. It really protects me, actually, from big tech cancellation and lawfare. You can communicate with me directly there, so I'd love you to be part of the community. www.outspoken.live. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.